coffee in your cup holder right now may have more sugar in it than a can of soda, and the chain that sold it to you never had to print that number on the board. That's a federal rule, 21 CFR 101.11. Calories go on the menu, sugar goes in a booklet nobody opens. In 2024, one of these chains pulled a drink entirely after 2 families said it killed someone. But the weird part is not the cheap chain, it's the expensive one. And the best cup I found costs about $1.50. So today we're walking through 9 coffee chains you should walk right past and 3 that are actually worth your cart. Let's talk about what real coffee actually is, because it's simple and that's the whole problem. Real coffee is one ingredient, coffee. Turn a bag of whole beans over at any grocery store and the ingredient list says one word. That's your standard, and it's the one you can check with your own 2 hands. When you buy a drink at a counter, the same rule applies. Coffee should be the first thing on the list, not the 4th, not the 5th. Doing it properly costs money, and here's where it goes. Real Arabica beans cost more than the cheap stuff. Brewing fresh and dumping what doesn't sell inside 30 minutes costs more than pumping a shelf-stable syrup out of a jug. And a barista standing there making 1 cup at a time costs more per cup than a machine that squirts powder into hot water. Sugar, oil, and powder are all cheaper than coffee, and they never go stale. That is the entire economic story of this category. Now the legal part, and it's short. Under 21 CFR 101.11, that big chain menu board has to show you calories. It does not have to show you sugar. The chain only has to keep the full numbers, including sugars, available in writing somewhere. Counter card, booklet, binder, website. So the number that would actually change your order is the one number you have to go looking for. They're banking on you not looking. And get this, every single figure I'm about to read you came off these companies' own published guides. Nobody had to leak anything. And later, I'll show you a 60-second test you can do with a clear glass on your own kitchen counter that tells you whether what you bought was coffee or dessert. Number 9, Tim Hortons. This is the one where you hit the French vanilla button at the counter and something creamy comes out of a machine and you think of it as coffee with vanilla in it. It's the drink people order when they want something warm and sweet on the drive to work. If you're in Michigan, Ohio, upstate New York, you've had one. Here's the thing, Tim Hortons sells that same French vanilla in a can, and a can has to carry a label, so turn the can around. The ingredient list reads sugars, then modified milk ingredients, then coconut oil, and then instant coffee. Coffee is the 4th ingredient. It's behind sugar. It's behind oil. On Amazon, that 16-ounce can runs $13.99, which is not bargain bin money for what is essentially sweetened powder with a little coffee in it. And look at the phrase right in the middle of that list, modified milk ingredients. That is not cream and it is not milk. It's whatever dairy fraction was cheapest that quarter, dried into a powder so it can sit in a warehouse for a year and never turn. And that's what it tastes like. Flat, powdery sweetness with that slick coconut oil coating that sits on the roof of your mouth and doesn't wash off with water. Coconut oil and corn syrup solids are the standard building blocks of a non-dairy creamer powder. They're there because they're shelf-stable and cheap, not because anyone ever thought they'd make your coffee taste better. Now do the math on the drive-thru version. If that's your Tuesday and Thursday drink, you're buying roughly 100 cups a year of something where coffee is the 4th ingredient. 200 cups if it's daily. That is the part that bothers me. Not that a sweet powdered drink exists. Sweet powdered drinks have a place, and that place is next to the hot chocolate. It's that this one is sitting on a coffee menu, under a coffee sign, wearing a coffee price. But the next one hides it better, because the next one doesn't say powder anywhere, it says extract. Number 8, the coffee bean and tea leaf. This is the chain your daughter takes you to at the mall, the one that feels a step above the drive-thrus. Green and gold, nice cups, the whole thing looks like a real coffee house. And the ice blended is their signature. It's been their signature since the 80s. So let's look at how they describe it, in their own words on their own website. The vanilla ice blended is made with coffee extract, French deluxe vanilla powder, non-fat milk, and pebble ice. Read that again, not brewed coffee, coffee extract. And the flavor is a powder. Turn that powder over and the first ingredient is sugar, then non-fat dry milk, then a non-dairy creamer built out of coconut oil, corn syrup solids, and sodium caseinate, then natural and artificial flavors. That's the base of your coffee drink. Then there's the number. From Coffee Bean's own published nutrition sheet, a 32-ounce cold brew coffee ice blended runs 760 calories with 116 grams of sugar. That's the one with the word cold brew in the name. For scale, a can of cola has about 39 grams, so that cup is 3 sodas at 10 in the morning. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And there's a tell on the allergen line that most people scroll right past. Their ice-blended drinks list coconut as an allergen. Not coconut flavor, coconut. That's the creamer powder announcing itself because the fat in your coffee drink is coming out of a bag, not out of a cow. Their 24-ounce hazelnut ice blended runs 630 calories with 80 grams of sugar and 19 grams of saturated fat, which is close to a full day. The kicker is that none of it is hidden. It's printed. It's just printed somewhere you were never going to look, which is exactly what that FDA rule allows. But at least Coffee Bean puts the word blended on it. The next chain puts sugar in a drink that has the word Americano in the name. Number 7, Philz Coffee. Yellow buildings, drive-through only, and if you're in Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, or Iowa, this is your morning stop. A lot of the people ordering here think they're being sensible because an Americano is supposed to be the sensible order. Espresso and hot water, that's it. So look at Scooter's own nutrition guide. A large caramel Americano, 20 ounces, comes in at 130 calories and 29 grams of sugar. 29 grams! In an Americano, that's more sugar than a chocolate chip cookie, in a drink whose entire identity is espresso and water. The flavor pump did all of that. And their signature drink, the Caramelicious, is worse. Large is 500 calories and 81 grams of sugar. The extra large, 24 ounces, is 560 calories and 94 grams. Now here's the part that got me. They offer a sugar-free version, and people order it thinking they've solved the problem. The sugar-free Caramelicious, large, still lands at 370 calories and 20 grams of sugar. That's diet theater. You changed the syrup and kept everything else. What you get is that thin, syrupy sweetness that coats your teeth by the third sip, and a caramel note that reads more like candy than coffee. And I want to be fair here. Scooter's is not pretending to be a health food. They publish all of this. It's right there in their guide in a column in public. But go back to that Americano for a second, because that's the one that gets me. Nobody orders an Americano to treat themselves. You order an Americano because you want coffee and hot water and nothing else. And the flavor pump turns it into 29 grams of sugar without changing the name of the drink on your cup or on your receipt. There is no moment in that transaction where anybody tells you what just happened. And if that's your daily, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, that's about 16 pounds of sugar a year from the drink you think of as the plain option. But remember that 29-gram Americano, because we're about to meet a chain where the sugar column looks fine and the damage is hiding one column over. Number 6, Black Rock Coffee Bar. This one's growing fast out west. It's a public company now, and the fan base is loud. The house drink is the Breve. If you've never ordered one, a Breve is a latte made with half and half instead of milk. It tastes rich because it is rich. Look at their nutrition statement. A 12-ounce hot Breve is 410 calories, 30.5 grams of fat, and 20.5 grams of saturated fat. 12 ounces. The daily value for saturated fat is 20 grams, so a small hot drink before you add a single pump of anything is a full day of saturated fat. That's not a sugar problem. Their Breve has 10 grams of sugar, which is nothing on this list. That's a fat problem wearing a coffee cup. And it's genuinely easy to miss because the one number everyone has been trained to check looks great. Here's the mechanism, and it's not complicated. Half and half is roughly 3 times the fat of whole milk. Swap it in for the milk in a latte and you haven't added a topping or a syrup or a drizzle. You've changed the liquid the whole drink is made of. That's why it tastes so rich, and it's why the fat number goes somewhere a latte never goes. Now here's the label game. Black Rock lists a sugar-free white chocolate sauce, and per ounce it has 10 grams of fat. The regular white chocolate sauce, the one with all the sugar in it, has half a gram of fat per ounce. So the sugar-free swap hands you 20 times the fat. That is not a health choice. That's a trade you were never told you were making. If you're a 5-day-a-week Breve person, that's roughly 260 small cups a year, each one carrying a full day of saturated fat. You'd never do that on purpose. Nobody's telling you not to. And that's my whole complaint. But the next brand takes this exact trick and puts a bow on it because they'll sell you the sugar-free version and hand you the same fat right back. Number 5, 7 Brew. 7 Brew is the fastest growing drive-thru on this list. The little stands with the 2 lanes and the person running out to your window. Their menu is enormous. And I want to give them credit for one thing first. Their nutrition guide is thorough, it's dated, and it's public, which is good because it's damning. From their own June 2026 guide, a medium hot Blondie Brevet is 610 calories with 51 grams of sugar. Order the sugar-free Blondie Brevet instead and you get 480 calories, 7 grams of sugar, and 32 grams of fat, 21 of them saturated. Same story as the last one. You removed the sugar and kept the whole day of saturated fat. Sit with that for a second, because it's the same trick 2 chains in a row now, and that means it isn't a mistake. It's how the category works. Sugar-free is a syrup swap. It is not a drink swap. The brevet underneath doesn't change, so the fat doesn't change, and the word on the menu does all the reassuring. Then there's the frozen side of the menu. A medium white chocolate mocha frozen chiller is 660 calories with 93 grams of sugar. And then there's the one that made me stop and reread the page. A large lemon freeze is 970 calories with 205 grams of sugar. 205 in 1 cup from a coffee stand. That is more sugar than 5 cans of cola, and it's sitting on the same menu as your morning coffee, priced like a treat, sized like a bucket. I'm not going to pretend a lemon freeze is coffee. Nobody thinks it is, and I'm not here to be the fun police about a frozen lemonade. What gets me is the stand is called a coffee company, so the whole board gets the health halo of coffee, and a 970 calorie sugar bomb rides along under that sign. But the next chain does something sneakier. Their flagship drink is genuinely popular, genuinely beloved, and people defend it in the comments every single time. Number 4, Dutch Bros, the Golden Eagle. Blue and white cups, a barista leaning into your window, and this drink has a cult. People plan their commute around it. So let's turn it around. From Dutch Bro's own nutritional guide, a medium hot Golden Eagle is 570 calories, 39 grams of fat, 26 grams of saturated fat, and 34 grams of sugar. The large is 650 calories with 30 grams of saturated fat, 26 grams of saturated fat in a medium. Again, the daily value is 20. So a medium Golden Eagle is a day and a quarter of saturated fat plus a soda's worth of sugar, and it's called a coffee. The iced medium, if you're wondering, is 460 calories with 39 grams of sugar. The iced large is 540 calories with 41 grams of sugar and 22 grams of saturated fat. So there is no size on that menu where you get out clean. And I get why people love it. It's a good tasting drink. It's supposed to be. It's built on espresso, brevet, vanilla, and caramel, which is a recipe for a milkshake with caffeine in it. That's not an accident, and it's not a scandal. What bugs me is the framing. Nobody walks out of a drive-thru holding a milkshake and thinks they made a neutral choice. They walk out holding a coffee. If that's your 5-day habit, you're taking on roughly 140,000 calories a year from a cup you think of as a beverage. Not a dessert, not a treat, a beverage, like water with a personality. And notice what's happening across these last 3. BlackRock, 7 Brew, Dutch Bros, 3 different companies, 3 different states, 3 different logos, and the exact same engineering underneath. Espresso, half and half, a sweetener, a drizzle, a name that sounds like an adventure. Once you learn to read one of these menus, you've read all of them. But at least Dutch Bros tells you what's in it. The next one put the danger in a place nobody would ever think to look, and people died. Number 3, Panera Bread. Panera is the safe one. It's the lunch spot with the fireplace and the bread bowls, the place people take their mother. And for years, they had a self-serve drink station where you filled your own cup. The drink was called charged lemonade, and it was not lemonade in any way that matters. According to Panera's own published nutrition information, a 30-ounce cup served without ice carried 390 milligrams of caffeine. The FDA says 400 milligrams a day is generally not associated with dangerous effects for healthy adults. So one self-serve cup was your entire day, and it was sitting next to the iced tea where you refill it yourself. Here are the receipts, and they're heavy. Sarah Katz was 21, a University of Pennsylvania student with a heart condition called long QT syndrome type 1. She drank a charged lemonade in September of 2022 and went into cardiac arrest hours later. She died. In October of 2023, 46-year-old Dennis Brown died, and his family filed a second wrongful death suit. A third suit came from a woman in Rhode Island who says the drink caused permanent cardiac injury. Panera settled with the Katz family in October of 2024, days before trial was set to begin. They settled the remaining cases after that, and in May of 2024, they pulled the drink from the menu nationwide, which is an admission, even if nobody had to call it one. Now here's the part that tells you the system failed, not just the company. In Europe, under Regulation 1169/2011, any non-coffee, non-tea drink over 150 milligrams of caffeine per liter has to carry the words high caffeine content not recommended for children or pregnant or breastfeeding women printed in the same field of vision as the name of the drink. Charged lemonade was well past that threshold. In Europe, that warning goes on the label, just not here. If this is already saving you from a bad shop, do me a favor and hit subscribe. We publish one of these every week. All right, here's the test I promised you, and you can do it in the next 60 seconds with a cup that's probably sitting next to you. Take whatever you bought this morning and pour about 4 ounces of it into a clear glass, a drinking glass, a measuring cup, anything you can see through. Let it sit for 1 minute. Don't stir it. Now look at the bottom. A good result looks boring. Real brewed coffee with milk in it stays one color all the way down. It might get a little lighter as the foam settles, but it's uniform. That's what coffee and dairy do. A bad result is a dark glossy layer that slides down and sits on the bottom of the glass. Tilt it. If that layer moves like syrup instead of like liquid, that's sauce. That's the caramel, the mocha drizzle, the flavored base, and it's heavy enough to fall out of your drink and pool. Then do part 2, which takes 5 seconds. Take 1 sip black. No sugar, no cream, just one. If you can drink it, you bought coffee. If you can't get it down, the sweetener wasn't a flavor on top of your coffee. The sweetener was the product and the coffee was the flavor. That's the whole test, and it's the same test that separates the 9 we're walking past from the 3 coming up. Every chain on the skip list fails the glass. Every chain on the real list passes it. Number 2, Dunkin. Dunkin runs on regulars. Same order, same time, 5 days a week for years. And the single most popular way to order here is with a swirl. Caramel swirl, French vanilla swirl, whatever's on the board that month. So look at the ingredient list, and this comes straight out of Dunkin's own allergen and ingredient guide, not a blog. Their caramel swirl coffee reads brewed Arabica coffee, then caramel flavored swirl syrup, and that syrup is sweetened condensed non-fat milk, then high fructose corn syrup, then sugar, then water, then brown sugar. Count the sweeteners. Sweetened condensed milk, high fructose corn syrup, sugar, brown sugar. 4 of them in the first 6 ingredients of that syrup. That is not a flavor. That's a dessert sauce with a caramel note. And the French vanilla swirl is worse in a different way. Its ingredient statement lists sweetened condensed skim milk, sugar, high fructose corn syrup, water, and then natural and artificial flavor. Artificial flavor. In something called French vanilla, which is a phrase chosen specifically to make you picture a vanilla bean and a farm in France. Now, the legal receipt, and I'm going to give it to you straight, including the ending. On December 26th of 2023, 10 customers filed a class action over Dunkin's upcharge for non-dairy milk, anywhere from 50 cents to $2.15 extra, arguing that charging people more for a medically necessary substitution violates the Americans with Disabilities Act. A federal court in California granted Dunkin's motion to dismiss, so Dunkin won that round. But the upcharge is real, it's documented, and if you can't drink dairy, you're the one paying it. Here's what makes this particularly annoying. Dunkin also sells unsweetened flavor shots. Same flavors, no sugar. The fix is on the same menu, 1 word away, and almost nobody knows to ask for it. Regulars have been saying the same thing for years, that the swirls all taste like one generic sweet and the coffee underneath got thinner. The fix has been sitting there the whole time. But the last one is the one I'd be most annoyed to find in my own hand because it's the most expensive cup on this entire list. And the coffee in it is the 5th ingredient. Number 1, Starbucks. The Caramel Ribbon Crunch Frappuccino. Green cup, whipped cream, caramel drizzle, and it is one of the most ordered drinks in America. Pull up the nutrition page on Starbucks' own website because they publish the full ingredient statement in order, and it reads like a confession. A grande caramel ribbon crunch is ice, then milk, then coffee frappuccino syrup, which is itself sugar and water, then whipped cream, and then coffee. Coffee is the fifth ingredient, behind ice, behind sugar water, behind whipped cream. And then it keeps going with dark caramel sauce, which starts with corn syrup, and caramel sauce, which starts with sugar, and a caramel sugar topping, which starts with cane sugar. The grande is 470 calories, 60 grams of sugar, 22 grams of fat, 14 of it saturated. And here's the punchline: 85 milligrams of caffeine. That's less caffeine than a plain cup of drip coffee. You paid coffee house money for the least amount of coffee on this entire list. And the label games don't stop at the Frappuccino. In 2022, New York customers sued over the refreshers, alleging the mango dragon fruit, strawberry acai, and pineapple passion fruit drinks contain no mango, no dragon fruit, and no passion fruit. Starbucks argued in court that the fruit names describe flavors, not ingredients. In September of 2023, Judge John Cronin rejected that argument and let 9 of the 11 claims move forward, writing that a significant portion of reasonable consumers would assume the drink contains the fruit in its name. The case was voluntarily dismissed a year later after settlement talks, with no public terms. Then there's the big one. On January 10th of 2024, the National Consumers League sued Starbucks in D.C. Superior Court over its claim of 100% ethical sourcing, citing documented labor abuses on farms in its supply chain. Starbucks moved to dismiss. In 2025, a judge denied that motion, and the case is moving forward. That is where the shelf stops being a shortcut and starts feeling insulting. The most expensive chain, with the biggest promises printed on the cup, selling a coffee drink where coffee is the 5th ingredient. Now, if you've made it this far, here's the payoff. 3 coffee chains that are actually what they say they are, and one of them costs about the same as a single Dunkin swirl. But the surprise is not that the real ones are better. The surprise is which one is cheapest. Number 3, Philz Coffee. In 1978, a man named Phil Jaber opened a convenience store in the Mission District of San Francisco. Then he spent 25 years in his own store, blending and tasting and failing, trying to make one really good cup of coffee. Not a chain, not a business plan, one good cup. The first actual Philz Coffee opened on January 1st, 2003. And here's the decision that costs them money every single day. Philz brews to order, 1 cup at a time. There's no espresso machine doing the heavy lifting. Someone stands there and makes your cup while you wait. You cannot batch that, and you cannot rush it, and the labor cost per cup is higher than any drive-thru on this list. I'd call the exact per cup number an estimate, but the direction is obvious. They chose the slowest possible method, and they kept it. Here's your proof, and it's the easiest one in this whole video. Walk in and look at the counter. If there's no espresso machine and someone is pouring water over grounds in a single filter for your order specifically, you're watching real coffee get made. You can't fake that in front of a customer. What people say about it is consistent. They don't call it fancy, they call it the one that tastes like somebody made it on purpose, and they'll stand in a slower line to get it, which tells you everything about whether the extra minute is worth it. Philz is California and Chicago, so this is not everyone's option. And here's the kicker. You could make this yourself with a plastic pour-over cone, a bag of whole beans, and 4 minutes. We'll put the method in the description. Number 2, Peet's Coffee. April of 1966. A Dutch immigrant named Alfred Peet opened a shop at the corner of Vine and Walnut in Berkeley, California. He grew up in his father's coffee business in Holland, came to America, and decided the richest country in the world was drinking the worst coffee on earth. Cans. Stale. He opened his own shop to fix it. In 1971, 3 young guys came to him to learn how to roast. He trained them, and he sold them his roasted beans to get their business started. That business was called Starbucks. Read that one more time. The number 1 brand on the skip list learned the trade from the number 2 brand on the real list. Peet's stayed expensive to run on purpose. They roast in small batches by hand, with roasters the company says trained for 10,000 hours before they're trusted with one. Roasting darker and roasting smaller means more weight lost per batch, and more product thrown out when it goes wrong. Every one of those is a cost a big industrial roaster designs away. And your proof is one sentence on the back of the bag. Grab a bag of Major Dickinson's blend off the grocery shelf and read the ingredient list. It says coffee. One word. That is the standard this entire video has been measuring against, and it's printed right there for 2 seconds of your time. Reviews keep landing on the same note, which is that it tastes like coffee tasted before every cup turned into a dessert. Look for the plain dark bag, not the loud one. It's boring in the best possible way. And if this ranking is useful, hit the like button. It really helps the channel cut through the algorithm. Number 1, McDonald's McCafe. I know, stay with me because this is the one that reframes the whole video. The coffee in a McDonald's cup is roasted by a company called F. Gavinia & Sons. The Gavinia family grew coffee in Cuba for generations. After the Castro government took the country in 1959, the family left with nothing and landed in Southern California. Don Francisco Gavinia worked as a busboy. In 1967, he bought used roasting equipment and started over, and the family has been roasting in Vernon, California ever since. They have supplied McDonald's since 1983, and it is still a family-run roaster. So why did they not take the shortcut? Because the whole thing was built around brewed coffee instead of syrup. Brewing fresh and throwing out what doesn't sell costs real money, and waste is a cost you eat on every pot. They eat it anyway because at that volume, a bad cup walks out the door and doesn't come back. Your proof is printed on the cup and on the menu. 100% Arabica, not coffee extract, not a swirl, not a base, beans. And I want to be clear about what I am and am not telling you here. I'm not telling you McDonald's is a health food company. I'm not telling you the frappes and the shakes at the same counter are fine, because they are built the same way as everything on the skip list. I'm telling you that one specific item, the brewed black coffee, is the most honest cup in this entire video, and the fact that it's also the cheapest should make every chain above it uncomfortable. And that's the answer to the question I opened with. The cheapest cup on this list is the honest one. A small McCafe brewed coffee is the only drink in this entire video where the first ingredient, the last ingredient, and the only ingredient is coffee. Black, out the drive-through window for about the price of a candy bar. Here's the one thing worth remembering. In a grande caramel ribbon crunch frappuccino, coffee is the 5th ingredient, behind ice, milk, sugar syrup, and whipped cream, and the whole cup has less caffeine than a plain drip coffee. The worst of the 12 is Starbucks, because it charges the most and gives you the least actual coffee. The best is McDonald's McCafe, because it's brewed 100% Arabica from a family roaster, and it costs almost nothing. So here's your move on the next run. Order it black first, 1 sip, before you add anything. If you can't drink it black, put it back and order the drip. Next week, we found something in a national brand of shredded cheese that genuinely changed how I shop, and it explains why it never melts the way your mother's did. Drop the brand you still trust in the comments. We're building the list together. Hit subscribe if this changes